What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look at the game Tower of the Wizard King. This game came out in 1993 from Parker Brothers, and it is for 2 to 4 players. Now, the object of this game is you're going to try to get as many pennants onto castles as you can, and you're going to be doing this by battling. You're going to be attacking, you're going to be defending. You've got 8 different characters that you're going to be able to play as, and you're going to be able to do this because you will be able to transform them in the Mighty Tower. So let's take a look at this game. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and show off this big game here. On the board, you've got a bunch of different territories on here, and you've got plains, you've got forests, and then you have mountains. On the board, you're going to have a couple of types of tokens. The first thing you're going to have here are spell tokens, and there's several different types of spells, which I'll talk about later. You also have castles on the board, and under the castle, there's going to be a token also with some text on it. Now, anytime you land on a castle, you're going to battle the person who owns the castle to try to gain ownership. Over here we have wizard tokens, and they work pretty much the same way as the spell tokens do. And on the bottom you have a wizard. Now, in this game, you're going to be able to transform the character that you are playing as while you are attacking another castle. And anytime that happens, you're going to be moving the wizard up one. If the wizard gets all the way to the top of the castle, that is going to end the game, and then everybody is going to go ahead and count up what are called pennants. And you're going to be trying to get as many pennants on the castles as you can. And then there's a couple of ways you can get pennants. Number one is if you successfully attack a castle, you'll be able to place pennants on it that way. If you defend a castle successfully, you'll also be able to put pennants on it that way as well. There are also other ways you can get pennants on your castles, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. There are 4 wizards in the game, and you can choose from one of them. These are just identification cards. That's their main purpose. You've got Zephyron, you've got Solanus, you've got Oceanus, and then you have Terra. And it has a little bit of a description on the card about them. And whenever you pick your wizard, you're going to receive one of these bases is synonymous with the color that you pick, and also a color token, again, that is synonymous with the wizard that you pick. Here are the different figures that are going to be in the game. You've got the barbarian, the skeleton, the elf, the ogre, the minotaur, the orc, the dwarf, and the dragon. And as you can tell, these are very nicely made. And on the bottom of these there's a little circular base, and whenever you put it in the tower, you're going to be placing it in your own colored base like so. These are the character cards that show you here. Here's the orc, here's the warrior, here's the skeleton, here's the minotaur, here's the dragon, here is the ogre, here is the dwarf, and here is the elf. You're going to shuffle the character cards, and you're going to go ahead and deal 1 to each player. Now, these cards will tell you some things. Number 1, it will tell you how many spaces you will be allowed to move on your turn. So the orc can move up to 5 spaces on each turn. He cannot land on a spot that is occupied by someone else. However, he can pass over him, and he can also double back if he would like to. This will tell you some of his characteristics. The big thing here is the combat strength. Now, anytime you're going to be battling another character, you're going to look to see how many dice that you are going to roll, and whoever ends up rolling the die that has the highest number on it is going to win that battle. If it's a tie, you'll just go to the next highest. So in this case, let's just say the orc was battling the dragon. The orc in this case would have 2 dice to roll. The dragon would have 5 dice to roll. Now, each character also has what is called a home castle, and the orcs is going to be in the plains somewhere here on the board. Now, if you're playing as the orc and you discover this, this is going to allow you to put a certain amount of pennants on that castle, and that castle cannot be attacked. However, if it turns out you uncover somebody else's home castle, you're going to leave it face up as it is, and whoever happens to be that character can go ahead, get to that space, and claim it. Now, the dragon and the skeleton have a unique ability. They do not have to cross over the bridges if they do not want to. All the other characters have to. Here's the meat of the game. This is the tower, a very cool mechanism. In the beginning, you're going to go ahead and place 4 of the characters that are not in use in the game into the tower. And what you'll simply do is you'll open up the door, and then you'll slip it in here like so, shut the door, and then you'll go ahead and push this handle and open the door, and you'll note that the character is not in here. There's a carousel in here that is going to basically be spinning around with these different characters. So I'll go ahead and place 4 in here. Now, each of the characters are going to start here in this little spot, and let's say it is the orc's turn, and the orc can move up to 5 spaces. So let's say he goes 1, 2, and he decides to move there. Now, you also have caves in this game. If you decide to use the cave and you don't have to, the cave will count as 1 space. So I could go here to here in one space and then continue going. But in this case, let's just say I landed here on this home castle. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. And in this case, I turned over the skeleton's tomb. So this is the skeleton's home castle. So whoever the skeleton is will be able to go ahead and claim it. But let's say the orc was over here, and he turned this over. He is going to see a symbol with a color on it. Now this is going to represent one of the players. So whoever the player is that picked up the yellow base and the yellow token, those two characters are going to go ahead and do battle. If you end up landing on a castle that has your color on it, you will just simply add a pennant to that castle. So let's just say the yellow character was the skeleton. So the orc's going to look at his card to see how many dice he'll be able to roll against the skeleton. In this case, the orc will roll 2 and the skeleton will roll 3. Now the orc has an option here. If he would like to, he can go ahead and move his character into the tower and transform it into another character. And then once he does that, he'll move the wizard up, and then he will go ahead and ensue battle with the new character. So let's say the orc decided that he was going to go ahead and transform his character. What he will do is he will go ahead and place it into the base like so, and he will slide it in, shut the door, and then he'll turn the lever. And what you're going to notice is, after I lift this up, there is a new character, folks, and this time it is the elf. So now that player is going to go ahead and play as the elf, and he will go ahead and take that character card. Essentially what this is a carousel that holds all the players, and anytime you turn the handle, it's going to spin to a different character. Let's say the orc goes ahead and rolls. He rolls 2 dice. He rolls a 6. The skeleton gets 3 dice, so he'll go ahead and roll, and he's rolled 2, 3, and 4. So since the orc went and got the highest number, he is going to go ahead and take over the castle. Let's just say the orc was green. The orc will go ahead and place a green pennant on top of the castle, like so. And this will go ahead and get removed. Let's say the reverse happened and the skeleton happened to attack the orc. If the skeleton were to win in this case, he would go ahead and replace this pennant. And if the defender were to win, in this case the orc, he would go ahead and add a green pennant to his castle. Now, if it turns out that the castle has 5 pennants and the orc ends up earning another pennant, he can go ahead and put the pennant on any one of his other castles. Now, the defender also has a special ability. Depending on how many pennants he has, he will be able to re-roll 1 less die than the number of pennants that he has. So if I happen to have, say, 3 pennants on there, I would be able to re-roll 2 of the dice that I had in battle. So let's just say the orc was this and this was the skeleton. I could go ahead and take the 2 dice and roll them together, or I could just roll them one at a time. So here are the different spells that are in the game. They're over on here and on these blank things. And on these tokens over here that do not have the castles on them, you've got the Spell of Revelation. This will allow you to turn over 2 any additional tokens and roll again. Spell of Transformation. You can take another player's character and change it in the tower. Spell of Protection. This will protect your castle so nobody can attack it. There's also one that will move the Spell of Protection. You also have a Spell of Transport. This will allow you to fly to any space of your choice. A few others, you've got the Spell of Power. This will add 1 pennant to your castle that already has 1 or more pennants on it. And then you also have the powers of the wizard tokens over here. Here's some that says Conquer a Castle, replace all pennants on another's castle with your own. Here's one that will allow you to transform yourself, a Spell of Power, a Spell of Protection. Here's a Spell of Transport for both of these areas right over here. Now, when the wizard makes his final step from the very top of the ramp to the tower, that is going to signify the end of the game. Everybody will then count up their pennants, and whoever has the most amount of pennants is going to win the game. And that, folks, is Tower of the Wizard King. So my final thoughts on Tower of the Wizard King. Well, this is a game my friend Bernardo was telling me about off of his channel, Tabletop Island. Excellent channel, by the way. And it definitely piqued my interest because this is one of those big vintage board games that has a very cool component on it and some pretty cool gameplay. This is a game that I like. Now, there is a lot of setup time in this game. You've got to set up the chips, you've got to set up the tower, and all those things. But it's a pretty unique experience. I think this is one of those games, like, the more you play it, the more you appreciate it. The tower, of course, is the big thing in this game, and it's a very cool component. I love the way the carousel moves, and it gives you different characters. And the thing is, you just never know what you're going to get whenever you take the chance to stick your character in there and try to get another character in hopes that you'll be able to have a better chance of winning. You might end up with a worse character. I like the different tokens that they have in the game to where you can force somebody to change. You can fly to another place in the board. There's a lot going on in this game. And, you know, it's very similar to the game of Risk, like when you chuck the dice and you just go with the highest number. So that's a pretty simple thing in itself. The ramp is pretty cool. It's a very cool game to look at for sure. This is a game that if you were to set up, it would definitely turn some heads. I think this game plays better with more than 2 players. I think it plays okay with 2 players, but with more, I think there's more that's going on, more people that you have to watch out for. But all in all, it's a very cool game. So guys, that's my review of Tower of the Wizard King. We'll see you later. Keep on gaming.